Welcome, bienvenido. Today is vlog 42 and I know I've been missing in action for about 5 days. I apologize for that. We've had a couple of ups and downs here and that's part of the reason why I'm making the video. I have not been very inspired to sit here and make videos because of the situation. So today's video is dedicated to every single person that has ever been a caregiver. Not just for people with Alzheimer's, although that is the majority of our focus, but also for people that have been taking care of family members who have any other disease, especially cancer. The kinds of things that are usually time consuming, that keep you away from having a full-time job, that kind of thing. Or if you're a new mother and you are considering not going back to work because your baby either has special needs or you just want to stay home with the baby. Caregivers of people of all ages who have to stay home for whatever reason. This message is dedicated to you. And here's the thing, and I want to make this very clear. This is not a complaint video, or I'm not whining. I'm just telling you the reality of what happens so that A, if you ever have to take care of somebody, you're prepared, and B, if you're going through it, you know that there's other people going through the same stuff you are. Whether it's more or less, it's irrelevant. It's still something that we have to deal with. And what am I talking about? Caregivers have two things that they have to be concerned about. And most people, when they talk about the ups and downs of diseases, they don't talk about the impact it has on them. And that's why I'm making this video. Now, number one, we got to talk about finances. And what I mean by that is whenever you're taking care of someone, be it your parent, your in-laws, child, a spouse, any person that requires 24-hour care or that you have power of attorney over, there is a financial burden on you and your loved ones when you decide to take this on. Most of us end up having to quit or find something we can do from home. And in some instances, it's easier than others, depending on the disease and the level of the disease. You might be able to have chunks of time, 3 or 4 hours a day, where you can dedicate that time to your job. Otherwise, if you have a job from home, otherwise, many of us end up having to leave everything, stay home with the person, especially when it comes to Alzheimer's. There were 10 months where I got no sleep, and we rarely went out. We had a couple of times that we would have somebody come and stay with her for a few hours so we could go out, and more often than not we ended up going to the grocery store and doing whatever needed to be done because we really didn't have any time to ourselves. And the reason for that is because when you have a person that needs your attention 24/7, and you live in a state where they don't cover that kind of stuff, so basically whoever's working in your house or whatever money you have left has to cover the expense of having somebody come over to your house, it is yet another burden on your finances. And before you know it, you're running out of money and you're running out of patience and you have no idea where everything is going because you're exhausted. Your priority is actually taking care of your loved one and you really don't want to deal with finances. The second thing that caregivers have to deal with is their own health. It is estimated that anywhere from 60 to 80% of caregivers end up developing either serious illness or they get sick as a consequence of taking care of a loved one. In many instances, there is a very high instance of caregivers dying before their loved ones because they don't take care of themselves because they're taking care of their loved ones. Now, I'm not going to name names, but I do know a person, and in this case, he didn't die. She was sick and she died. But when she died, his family discovered that he had developed, I don't know how you call this, but it's basically your own skin rebels against you, and it forms this ridiculously I think it's sepsis. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's sepsis. And what ended up happening is one day, I guess he was wearing shorts or something, and the family noticed the welts on his legs, and he basically had his legs and his feet covered in welts because his own skin was rebelling against him, and it was developing these welts. And she had died, the wife had died, he had developed those welts, and it took them, I don't even know how long it took them to be able to because they had to take him to the hospital. I don't know how long it took them to have everything taken care of, but I can tell you that it was a very scary situation. Now, in the case of another couple, same circumstance, she was sick, she had dementia, he didn't, he had something else, he died before she did. That is very common, especially as you get older, because remember, dementia develops normally, it develops as you get older. So unless you have early onset dementia, you're not going to see the signs until you're in the 70s or 80s. And in this particular situation, I think she was about 83 when she started having symptoms. And he had some other disease. I don't remember what the disease was. But he died before she did. And I can tell you tons and tons of stories. I've seen them because I belong to groups support groups. I hear the stories over and over again of people just getting sick and not having time to go to a doctor because they want to take care of their loved ones. And of course, that also involves the financial struggle, because if you don't have a job, you might not have as much money to go to a good doctor, etc., etc. And why am I bringing that up? I'm bringing that up because that is part of the reason why I haven't been doing videos, because there comes a point where you are financially strapped, you don't know what to do, and I'm trying to find a solution for this, not only for me, but for everybody that's going through this. Because, to give you the perfect example, I'm talking to my daughter today about trying to find a full-time job. I have not been successful in finding a part-time job so that I can balance everything I'm trying to do. And she looks at me and she goes, but you can't have a full-time job because you have power of attorney. If my loved one ends up in the hospital, I am the one who has to leave whatever I'm doing and go to the hospital, because I'm the person. And the hospital here, both hospitals have all the paperwork, so they know that I'm the one who has power of attorney. So it's one of those situations where I've said this a couple of times before in other videos, no good deed goes unpunished. Feels like a lie, but it's actually kind of true. And I know that was not the intention of the people involved, to leave us with any burden at all. But it sometimes happens that way. Unless you're a multi-millionaire and you can afford to spend a couple of years out of work while you figure out what's going on with your family member or your loved one, you're stuck in a really horrible situation. So for all the caregivers out there, I just want to let you know that even though it's hard and some days I don't know how it's going to work out, you have to hang in there. I don't know what you're going to do. I don't know how I can help. I'm trying to figure out how I can help. I have a meeting with the Alzheimer's Association on Thursday, and I am going to bring it up because I have a plan, but I don't know if it's going to work. Now, it's not going to get me a job. I would have to find a job so I can subsidize the effort until it grows. But there should be more options for people like us. I don't know about you, but I do want to have an income. And I don't have a problem working at certain hours of the day. I just need the flexibility to know that if I have to run out the door because I get that call, that I can do that. So if you're struggling, we're all in the same boat. Just leave your comment below. And thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful night.